citizens of the underworld. This is your king speaking. Helios of the heliosblog. Today, we have a heated debate on the Whatever podcast. And, some hilarity ensues. Alright. Sit on your couch or in your coffins to listen to this.
The reason she's alone is because she's difficult.
Women are not accepting the bare minimum.
Women fuck men they respect.
All the women who say things like, I'm strong, independent, I don't need no man, like, y'all impress me.
Women just gaslight each other and say what they want to hear.
Ask me my body count, I would be like, how old are you? Like,
yes. Immaturity. You want to know how many dudes I slept with before you? You're immature ad hominems. Yes. Absolutely. Wonderful. Again, what women want and need, that's top priority. What men want and need, no, that's horrible. M word, E word, I word.
not matter. It's not.
Well, if he wanted a serious relationship with you and wanted a marriage with you, I mean, it's statistically the marriage success rate goes down the toilet, and women are 80%, 80% of marriage, or 50% of marriages in the United States end in divorce, and 80% of those are initiated by women, which is directly correlated to if you have slept with more people and you have more bodies on your record, you're more likely to get a divorce. So I don't think it's unfair for a man to ask, hey, how many men have you been with in the past? Because that's going to impact him in his future too.
Absolutely. Also, if the girl refuses to answer the question, that means her encounter is astronomical. So that means she's not a wife. Simple as that.
And I also think there's a difference between like some random person asking your body count and someone who genuinely wants to have a relationship with you and be intimate with you. I think that body count is important to the person that you're with and being intimate with. I think that's fair.
I mean, like I said, I have no issue with people like having issue with body count, but only if their body count is also like low. Like, I just don't like how men will come on here or like any other podcast or just vocalize how they are allowed to have sex with 300, 400 women, but then
so the only guys that she pays attention to are guys that sleep with 300, 400 women. That's like 0.1 of 0.1% of men.
Expect to be with a woman with one or two.
Oh, well, no, a man, that's
like,
Hold on just a sec. Thank you, Prometheus.
$100. I sort of agree as I watched how the relationship between Little Ed and Liz Wood's relationship is a mess, but that's exaggerated TV. I've been with someone with a high body count and the one with a lower one. The lower one showed sympathy unlike the other.
And there's more as well. Women with a high body count, they have an amalgam, which means you need to be the best qualities of every previous man that she's ever been with. The more men she's been with, the more impossible the amalgam is to defeat. If the amalgam is impossible to defeat, what it means is that she will be unhappy no matter what you do. And if she's unhappy no matter what you do, you have no chance. So the relationship is dead from the beginning.
Thank you, Prometheus. Appreciate it.
By the way, let's do the shilling. Hit the like, hit the sub, hit all for notifications, drop me a donation like Tom M, Adrian R, Hunter M, and Bobby. Shoutouts to you, most recent Patreon subscriber. Thank you. Go buy my books at bit.ly/heliosbooks. Shoutouts to Curry Kid, most recent purchaser of Strategist Guide to Seduction. Thank you. My Patreon can be found at patreon.com/theheliosblog. Support the podcast by clicking on the description link. Scroll down to support the show. And, of course, share this video. Shilling is done. Let's continue.
He's been with someone with high... Okay. All right. Continue with your point.
I also wanted to add that I feel like it's less about how many people you slept with.
Thank you, Flan Life, for the 20 gifted memberships. Appreciate it. You think it's less about...
It's less about how many people you slept with and more about, like, your experience with relationships. Like,
Nope, disagree. It's actually about the end count. Because if you have 50 flings versus 2 long-term relationships of 5 years, the 2 long-term relationships of 5 years, the girl is going to be a better partner. She's going to be a better girlfriend.
I feel like one bad relationship will truly taint a man or woman for their future ones.
Oh, that's true as well. But that's why you talk about N count as being important, because the higher bodies, the more likely she is to be alpha widowed, which is she gets with a man who's a hypergamous ideal, and he leaves her before, you know, she gets a chance to realize that the hypergamous ideal is a, you know, it's a flawed concept. It doesn't actually exist. It just exists in the mind. You think that the man is actually Hercules or whatever, but he's not actually Hercules. He's just a man who's a bit better than everybody around him. But she doesn't learn that, and then the guy breaks up with her. And for the rest of her life, she compares every future man to this man that she thought was perfect. And she's basically like a widow, because no matter what, she's always comparing and thinking about that guy. And so you can't have a good relationship with a girl like that. That girl would be recreational use only as well. So, there it is. This also applies to age of women as well. The older they are, generally that correlates with higher N count, generally that correlates with more baggage, generally that correlates with more likelihood of being an alpha widow, and so on. So, there you go. That's why 36, 37-year-old women, in a previous episode I said, if she's too old you can't work with her. That's why. And somebody said, like, oh, does anybody even listen to my advice? Guys, I mean, you don't have to listen. But I'm telling you, if you don't follow the advice, the good advice, you're going to get destroyed. So, it's up to you. Okay, let's continue.
I think it's less about casual sex. And, I mean...
Disagree.
I don't know. I mean, I've seen the studies and whatnot. I think that's one study. I don't know if there's been multiple. So, I don't have a lot to comment on the one study. Oh, closer.
Do you agree that psychologically, though, the more people that women sleep with, it changes the chemicals like in your brain to where you're enabled to have a longer term relationship?
Yup. It's because whenever women have bedroom fun, what happens is they release oxytocin, right? But oxytocin, like everything else, is subject to homeostasis. So the more times you have bedroom fun, the more resistant your body is to oxytocin, which means the less pair bonded you are to each new guy. So as you become less and less pair bonded over time, the 25th, 35th, 45th guy, he's not going to get anywhere near that level of pair bonding hormone that you released with the first man you were with, to have bedroom fun with. All right, let's continue.
With a man?
That's like an
no,
actual
science.
science.
No, I mean, I personally don't have issues with relationships at all or falling in love. The one thing that did change
Stop the cop.
me personally was like this one bad experience that
Alpha widow
had with a man, and that's what I feel like is more detrimental as opposed to like sleeping with a bunch of people. I don't.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Being an alpha widow is the worst. It's one of. I've literally made a video called "Alpha Widows: Women That Can Truly Hurt You." You can check it out on the YouTube channel. It's one of my top videos, and it's related to this. So, yeah, it's absolutely true. That is worse than higher N count, but higher N count means that the probability of this happening is higher, which is why N count is a good predictor of future relationship success. So it's like high N count means low probability of children being yours. It's biological. All right, let's continue.
I don't think that it really matters that much.
Well, you mentioned that, well, having specifically one bad toxic relationship may have more of a negative impact than having high body count, but it can be both. I mean, certainly, yes, if you have one singular bad relationship, that could potentially have a negative impact on your future relationships, but certainly if you've had like a long string of transient sexual partners, you know, you've had 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 one-night stands or short-term whatever, that has a negative impact too.
I think it kind of depends on, like, especially when it comes to women. So when I was in high school, a lot of...
Anecdotal, la la la. So the idea is, women after a certain amount of N count, they stop being able to pair bond entirely. They're like men. And so they're able to disengage or, you know, kind of cut bedroom fun from the from pair bonding. But when a girl is at that point, she's already not a wife anymore. So, there it is. All right, let's continue.
Like my friends, like just would have sex with guys because they didn't know how to
Stop the cap. It was you.
say no, and that I think.
Yeah, I've had my fun, and now I've learned my worth. Now I'm ready to settle down. Where was your dad? Where was your mom? Where were your cousins? Where was your grandpa? Where was your brother? Where was your sister to tell you that you aren't supposed to have casual bedroom fun with guys, whether they want to or not, whether you can say no or not? You don't do it. Don't put yourself in situations where it can happen. Don't put yourself around illicit substances. Don't put yourself around alcohol, and so on.
That can be traumatic and that can change you. But I mean, are we just like doubting like women's sexuality? Like some women are just fucking
No, I
horny
think there's a
and
difference
just
between.
want.
I
Yeah,
think
there's a
that
difference.
there's a difference though between doubting a woman's sexuality and then borderline being like it's okay to sleep with whoever you think you want to or who you're attracted to at the time. And like Morgan said, like statistically, it's been proven that like women are getting divorces literally because of their body counts, quite literally.
Yep. I believe the limit is 8. So if she's with 8 partners before you, your divorce rate likelihood is very high. So divorce rate likelihood is 10% at end count 0. So that means 90% chance your marriage is going to work out. And it goes up the percentage with bodies. And I believe the highest possible limit, where after that it's very bad, like 85% chance of divorce or something, is around 15 partners. So there you go. It really isn't that many for a girl to be a bad bet for a wife. Really isn't that many at all.
I think it does make commitment harder, and I don't believe women who have high body counts feel good about themselves. I don't know how someone can feel like good about themselves having so many, and I'm not attacking you personally, I'm just saying like in general, like I don't know how I could feel good about myself having like so many bodies to the point where like I've lost track.
It means a girl is of low self-worth, right? She doesn't see herself as desirable, because a woman that sees herself as a desirable commodity doesn't just give it away to anybody. Right? Doesn't just give it away for $5 on OnlyFans and so on. Okay, let's continue.
Well,
before I have you respond, you wanted to come in. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say you can be horny and control your desires.
Yeah.
That's not really
There's
an excuse
also
at
other
all.
ways.
How come we don't expect that for men though?
I do.
No,
I don't like
do.
when men have a high body count.
I think that there's a difference between men and women. I do believe that sometimes men need to like.
This is cap too. Girls say, I don't like a man with a high body count. Sure, they say this. But who do women date and marry? They date and marry men who have social proof. Men who have been chosen by other women. The man that other women want to be and other women want to be with, that man is desirable. So women go for him. So when they say, I don't like a man with a high end count, probably what they are actually saying is, I don't want to actually know. She shouldn't tell me, but it should be obvious to me that he is, he's had multiple girls. All right, let's continue.
Like get it out of their system, but I'm not saying that men should be able to sleep with 50 plus women because they're men. And I think that's where people like get confused too. Like even with conservatism, like, oh, men need to get it out of their systems, they can like sleep with whoever. No, that's disgusting to me too. Why would if my body count is so low, or I've like worked hard to like preserve myself for my husband, why would I want to marry someone who has 40 bodies, 50 bodies, 60 bodies?
But also, I want to mention that study that you're referencing, it talks about people who have, like, there's a big difference in when it comes to divorce, when it comes to people who have had more than one body count. Beyond that, and it's the same for men and women.
It's more pronounced in women.
But also,
Actually, men release 1/10 of the oxytocin that women do. So oxytocin and testosterone for men and women are like reversed. So whereas men release much more testosterone than women release much more oxytocin than men. So the pair bonding hormone is released much more. So basically, a man with an N count of 50 has the equivalent of an N count of 5 for a girl. You see what I'm saying? So that's his ability to pair bond. So it's not as good as if he had 0, but a man does need experience to be able to know what kind of girl is good. Again, in 2023, men are tricked by practically everybody. Just be yourself, be a nice guy, pay for everything, la la la. And then they go on a $200 dinner date and the girl ghosts them or whatever. you know. So guys just get tricked constantly, or you know, be friends first, and then she cheats on him, you know, like 1 off, 2 off, because she was never attracted to him. She's just using him. Men need to know the kind of girls that do things like this, so that they can avoid that. But the only way to know is by having practice. The only way to have practice is to actually get the bodies, actually understand how these relationships work, understand how friends with benefits work, understand how, you know, NMGs, which is like a girlfriend, but you're still sleeping with other girls, and then transitioning into a monogamous relationship. Understand that whole cycle and how it works. A man can't possibly learn how to do all this with an end count of 0. So it's disingenuous at best to say that you're attracted to a man like that, because women are attracted to men with experience. So it's just cap. It's just a lie.
I mean, also, yeah, if you have more experience, like naturally, like you're gonna like not accept the least. And yeah, if you've only slept with one person your entire life, like you're not gonna have the experience or maybe even like the confidence to want to leave that person. And
yeah, this girl thinks that a man is like a woman, right? She thinks that if a woman gets experience, that she's more attractive in the same way that a man is. But no, it's actually the reverse. The more experience a woman has, the less attractive. Men actually have a disgust response to high end count. They don't want to deal with it. And they have a similar disgust response to a child of another man. You don't want to date or marry a girl like that, because bad bet for paternity. All right, let's continue.
I don't think it's experience.
And I think divorce is fine, by the way. I don't know.
You think divorce is fine?
Clearly.
100%.
Even if there's kids involved, you think divorce is fine?
Yes, I'm a child of divorce, and I'm glad my parents got
Clearly.
divorced.
And you think that your life spanned out the way that you wanted to? Because
yes.
Okay.
My parents fought all the time when I was a kid. And actually, I feel like their fighting almost was more detrimental than them getting divorced.
I mean, I feel like in situations like that, it's a little bit different, right? Where there's like an abusive situation.
No,
like
it was not abusive, like not physical.
Emotionally abusive, yelling, right?
Just a lot of yelling, yeah.
Yeah, so I would feel like I'd consider that like under the guise of like abuse. But also too, like the marriage thing, like a lot of people, like we've in America.
That's not a word. It's not a word unless it's specific things are said, you know, like degrading, horrible things that destroy your psychology, right? You know, shouting is not necessarily a word. It depends on what is being shouted, right? Okay, anyway.
America, we've had 53 years of no-fault divorces. People have been able to get
Right.
divorces for whatever reason they feel like, and I feel like that has like been against our demise, where people like get marriages, and like Adam 22 is the perfect example. I think it's an absolute mockery of marriage and what it should be. Or like even like you sitting here like single or whatever, like not married, like being okay with like divorce. Like I guess I just can't like wrap my mind around that. I feel like that's detrimental to like you, your husband, your future kids. I feel like it's very unfair.
Yes, indeed, it is. It's bad for everyone.
To your future children, especially if they are involved.
I think it depends on the scenario, but if it was like a divorce where there was just it was detrimenting the whole family, and everybody went to counseling, I do believe you should at least go to some sort of
100%.
counseling. You got to try to make it work. You can't just be like, I'm splitting. But I do feel serial remarriers, they need to fix themselves.
Yes,
and
That's absolutely true. Usually they're just repeating the mistakes of the past. Absolutely.
and it's like, if you see yourself getting divorced, getting married, you start checking why you're either attracting these types of people or why.
Valdev donated $100. Blue Tank fam, how you gonna show up with a Leo crank to 10 and talk about sexuality? You know what you're doing. At Ariel, the abs plate is for sure foreplay. I got you, Conan 18 ladies, rich man or combat effective man.
I wish I knew what he said.
I don't understand. Okay, whatever.
Blue Tank, that's me.
We're gonna need like a some
Translator.
sort of cipher, something to decipher this riddle.
I think
this
he's commenting
riddle
on
here.
your outfit. I mean, I'm not. I'm just trying to decipher
I
this
mean,
for you.
Oh, we have another one.
_guy_in_Canada Canada donated $99. Body count is a dumb conversation because it's not zero sum. If guys want women with lower body counts, they should stop increasing them.
Yes, but this is a classic fallacy, okay? the implication, the reason why it's a fallacy is because of this. Most men are not having bedroom fun. Most men are getting nothing. So, what that means, if you look at, like, statistics for dating apps, 4.5% of men are swiped on. Everybody else gets nothing. So, most women are sleeping with a very small proportion of men. So, whose fault is it actually that the end count is increasing? Men or women? Well, if we consider the percentage of the population that's actually encouraging this is women, not men. Because how can you say that men are the problem when 95+% of men are not contributing to that problem? It's like saying, out of 100 people, 5 people are hitting, using sledgehammers on this wall. Therefore, all the people in the group are responsible. No. If 95 of those 100 were, then you could blame the group. But if a small subset of that group's population is actually doing the bad action, you can't blame it on the entire group. Whereas for women, you can, because most women in 2023, not all, but many, are contributing to hookup culture. They are sleeping with these chads. So it can't be said that it's men's fault, because on average, statistically speaking, it is not men's fault. It is women's fault for giving all the bedroom fun to a very small fraction of men. Women actually need to control their urges, because it is a large percentage of the population that's doing it versus a small percentage of men. Yes, all men want to be part of this group, but most men are not in it. So who's actually encouraging it? You see what I'm saying? All right, let's continue.
That's another thing I want to talk about. Yeah. Definitely.
Well, I mean, on that topic though, what I would say is there's a smaller proportion of men that are supposedly responsible for increasing women's body count.
But it's kind of like the OnlyFans thing too. Like, a lot of men will be like, "Oh, this."
Exactly. That's why OF is so popular, because most men get nothing. A large fraction of men are paying for basically a stand-in girlfriend, or like a pretend girlfriend. That's what OF is, right?
This is so bad and it's so horrible, but who's creating the supply? I mean, who's creating the demand, and then who's meeting the supply? Like, do I know women who do OnlyFans and like making 6 figures? Do I necessarily blame them? No, but the same men that like.
Yeah, men are to be blamed for the OF thing by the same logic, because who is doing OF? Very tiny fraction of women, very large percentage of men. So by percentages, we can say men are the ones that are encouraging that behavior, not women. It's a small fraction of women that are using the plight of these men. I can't say that it's women's fault. Women are taking advantage, yes, but men are the ones encouraging that. Whereas women are encouraging hookups. By the exact same logic.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's definitely.
I'm so with you. Men should not.
So men should not ever use OF, because it is encouraging the wrong kind of behavior.
Not be spending money on OnlyFans.
Yeah.
Because the men are instigating the women to continue doing it, but then if the men are like, well, I don't want to marry someone who has a high body count, but then they're also instigating it. It's a two-way street.
Yeah. Men are also doing it as well.
Right, yeah.
Doing OF?
Yeah, for sure.
Men? A very tiny fraction of... So, women fraction out of the entire population that do OF is like, let's say this much. Male fraction is, let's say, that much. It's very, very small compared to women. Because most men can't be successful on such a platform. because women don't pay for this. I'll bet actually that the percentage of men that are successful in OF are actually men that are attracting the attention of other men. I'll bet that's the case.
Yeah, there's men who do OnlyFans.
Actually, I do. I have an OnlyFans,
and a lot of their audience are other men
You have
as
an
well.
OnlyFans?
Yeah, but it's like a meme. I don't. I'm not posting like nudes and. It's just like.
I guess
like,
now you don't have to.
There's like 2 photos of Kiki on there. It's just for jokes. But
I will say my fiance and I never talked about body count until we started watching whatever. And then like, everyone was talking about it. Oh,
hold on just a second. Yo, thank you, Curtis.
$99. Body count is in every episode. I don't seem to care. When you really think about it, you can just lie. A chick could have been bred by $50. I wouldn't be able to judge them. I could just tell chicks I'm a virgin till they meet my kid.
Absolutely. But if you were to find out at some point that she was lying, then what? That's the point. Alright. Let's end the video there. Hit the like, hit the sub, hit all notifications, drop me a donation like Hunter M, Adrian R, Tom M, and Bobby. Shout out to you, most recent Patreon subscriber. Thank you. Go buy my books at bit.ly/heliosblog. Shout out to Curry Kid, most recent purchaser of Strategist Guide to Seduction. Thank you, really appreciate it. My Patreon can be found at patreon.com/theheliosblog. Support me on the podcast by clicking the description link, scroll down to support the show, and share this video. Thank you so much for listening, guys, especially if you listen to the end. I really do appreciate it. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.